What we found is that there's a lot of various distractions that are set up. The enemy tries to do that to distract us to the true wealth and currency. What fills up my spirit is when I look somebody in the eyes and I have a connection with them and I get to know their story.
There are just so many unique people that are in the world that are trying to make a difference. And when I talk about living boldly with purpose, or we talk about living boldly with purpose, it is so often that we just understand that if we can get into our lane, if we can find out what it is, why God put us on this planet, life is so much better. The fulfillment of what we do and what we learn and how we move forward, there just seems to be something about it. There's so many people that I think are pigeonholed into, this is what my parents wanted me to be, or this is what, my community told me I would be good at. I mean, and even our educational system that kind of tells us, what do you want to be? You want to be a fireman? You want to be a policeman? You want to be, because right, what do you want to be when you're growing up? And I don't know if we should decide that when we're 4 or 5 years old. I think it's fun to say these are the different things that are available, but to start that direction when you don't even really know what it is. I want to be a policeman. Well, why? Well, you can't answer that when you're 5 years old because you don't even understand what society is all about. And so it's so fun that when you are able to begin to live in your purpose and do the things that you're here, how much of an impact and how much of a difference you're making. I was asking Jeff, our guest here, just before the show, what are you excited about? And I love asking that question at the beginning because he started telling me, he says, I'm excited about what I'm doing now. I finally feel like I found my spot. I feel like I found what it is that I'm on this planet to do. And so I've asked Jess to tell his story like I do with all our guests and, kind of tell us who he is. And then we'll get into some of the things he's doing and we'll chop it up after that. But Jeff, I just appreciate you coming on. I appreciate the time that you're spending. And I know how busy it is that you're there, but I can't wait for our listeners to get to know Jeff Fisher. So go ahead and start your story wherever you want, and then we'll just move from there.
Yeah, thank you so much to start. I really appreciate you having me on this great show. It's an honor to be on. And I think you nailed it. A lot of people tend to hold themselves short or maybe within their lives not get to their purpose. Mm-hmm. And I do feel like it is a blessing. Ride the Wave is our lane. And it's something that came to me. I never thought I'd have such a great purpose to be pursuing in my life. So it is it's something that every day I come to work, coffee, desk, ready to go. So it's more than just a job. It's getting through the grind. When I'm off and I feel off track, it might be certain things I'm doing with my routine, but it's because I'm off purpose, really. And it's a matter of getting back on purpose. So I grew up in Parsippany, New Jersey. I've always been somebody that was a little bit more focused on partying with friends, things like that. Wasn't the greatest student, if you will, more social, things like that. I think I gained some social intelligence in school, had a lot of friends, things like that. And I didn't take the traditional path out of school. I was working retail jobs, started selling cell phones and Singular Wireless, and showing my age a little bit, but Singular merged with AT&T. It was a cell phone company a while back, and I was in the mall working there. And I sold a BlackBerry to a guy who took a liking to me. His name is Stephen Klein, and he worked for a staffing agency, Century Staffing. And I decided to go with him and tailor a resume. I went on a bunch of various different interviews, corporate type positions, and didn't get the job. Kept going though. I stayed at it. I didn't give up. Instead of being discouraged and saying, oh, you know what, that company didn't hire me. Ricoh Copier was very popular at that time. They were a big company. The guy, I remember, even looked at the resume and was like, why should I? Because I didn't really have much on there. I wasn't dressed properly. So I decided to take it as a learning experience and each time better myself. Long story short, VitaQuest International was a job that I got. Wasn't as qualified. I ended up going on my own, getting a project management degree when it was online, not as kosher then. So I got a degree in school and wanted to do the corporate sales. I had a good mentor. His name was Mark Stanisi. And I felt like that was the route that I wanted to go and take. So I ended up through my travels getting under the umbrella of equipment, process equipment.
Okay.
So I own a company, NCK Equipment, and we sell process equipment into food, beverage, pharmaceutical, all manufacturing facilities that would make the product. Like Hershey's chocolates needs a big tank, a mixer, maybe a heated tank to mix chocolate. We provide those products. And Ray Marone he's a great guy. He was the founder. He named the company after his 3 daughters, Nicole, Kristen, and Kathleen. Really great guy, most positive person I ever met. You know, even during COVID, we're going to be fine, keep pushing forward. He was known for that in the industry. Some of our manufacturers, he was known for that positive energy. So early on, I understood the importance of getting to the bottom of the culture of the company. You know, it was just me, you can hire a couple other people. So while it was a blessing, is while seeking the culture of the company, Ride the Wave Foundation was birthed while I was doing that. I wanted to encapsulate Ray's positivity, that his vibe, the way he went to market and how he developed relationships with customers, encapsulate that into the culture. And one of the things that he used to say, or we used to say to each other when sales was going very well and we were in the groove, is riding the wave. Yeah, we're riding the wave. So it's pretty amazing that through that process, Ride the Wave Foundation came about. And it uniquely ties into our brand. We're finding a way, because it was birthed through trying to get to the bottom of the culture. If you go to NCK Equipment, nck-equip.com, it says NCK Equipment fueled by wave on the logo. So if somebody clicks on that, they can see the foundation. There's ways to cross-market it through language and tie the brand into even each transaction. So we found that it's a way to really eventually train business leaders as well.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah. And with Ride the Wave Foundation, just so everybody knows, the grand commitment, it's a major project, is to build an all-inclusive, modern campus, university style, for people experiencing homelessness, somewhere where they could be accepted and not leave until they feel vibrant, good about themselves, and productive. And in order to do that, we have a podcast, Ride the Wave podcast, that's gone from 0 to 100K subscribers in just 6 months. I wrote a book called Wavemaker. Wavemaker is a repurposed story of a real interaction I had with a homeless man named Daryl.
Okay.
He was parked outside where my mom lives at a convenience store. And so I had, tried to seek the culture of the company. I had an interaction in Morristown, New Jersey. I was walking outside of the gym in Morristown, and there's a Starbucks that I usually go to, and I get along with the staff really well. And one day there was a young gentleman, his name was Lorenzo. He was selling splash paintings on the street. And I got to like him. He was very high energy. When I would come out of Starbucks, we'd wave. He really kind of started my day out great. He was a good young man, didn't have much. I purchased one of his paintings, but when I bought it based on him, his story. And I did think he was genuinely talented too. I thought he had talent. So developed a relationship with him. It was an unlikely friendship. Through him, I met Mark Robinson. Mark is the co-host of Ride the Wave podcast. He's also the community relationship manager. So he's a relationship manager for people in the homeless and underprivileged community. He's a black gentleman with dreads. A very unlikely friendship that I normally wouldn't speak to. Through Lorenzo, Mark had I met him at Starbucks. He had all his markers and all his pens out. He's an artist. So I met him too. And I tried to help them out on the business end a little bit. Lorenzo ended up not wanting to pursue that. He wanted to just do the art. But long story short, it was interesting because the friendship with Mark was something that I realized, we're sort of connected in the spirit. Even though Mark has led a different life than me, he's a good guy. He's a great reputation in the community. He's laid back. Kind of, we offset each other as a friendship. It was great. So during that time is when it came to the catalyst, the discovery of Ride the Wave. So when I was at my mom's, I walk across the street and there's a convenience store. I'm going to get a drink. And I go in. I notice a van there. It's beat up. It's this blue van. It's been there a couple days prior. Previously, I saw it there as well. And this is a place where I go to ride my bike, or I rode my bike when I was a kid. So I grew up in the area. And as I was coming back from the convenience store, I felt a wave come over me, a feeling like God calling me to knock on the window and to check on Daryl to see if he's okay. So I decided to respond, to push through fear or whatever hesitation I had. And I knocked on the window to check to make sure he was okay and he had everything he needed. And I thought it was sad. I thought it was sad that somebody could be sitting there for that long in that situation and nobody asked him if he's okay. And he ended up having some story, like he lost his job. At first he was hesitant, probably thought I was a cop or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He did open up to me nicely, and it was a really beautiful interaction. I told him to wait right there. I was going to get him some food. He was down on his luck, really depressed. So when I was in there, I had the wave come over me again. And I don't normally give money or anything like that, but I gave him enough to get a place to clean up and to get a really good meal. So responded to the wave again. When I did that, he cried. It was such an amazing connection. I mean, the surge of energy, we looked each other in the eye. I do a one word by John Gordon every year. John Gordon is an author and speaker. He's in the leadership, positive leadership. He's under the umbrella of Tony Robbins. Yeah. He teaches to NFL. Damon West is another guy I look up to in that space as well. If you go to damonwest.org, John spells his name Jon Gordon. If you go to johngordon.com. The great influence and a supporter at a high level as well. John, I do one word every year through his book, One Word, and that year was encourage. So in various conversations, I would encourage people, or I would research what encouragement is and how I could include it in my language. So that whole year, it's that one word that I focus on. I really fueled Daryl with encouragement before I left. I looked him right in the eye. Everything's going to be fine. It's going to be okay. It's going to turn around. I see something in you, that kind of thing. And when I did, there was such an energy to it. I walked along the side where my mom's house is by the garage, and I cried. I really got emotional. It was an amazing connection. I was scheduled to go to the Entree Leadership Conference, which I had went to a few months later. I took Daryl's number down wrong by accident, so I haven't seen him. A few months go by. It's Sunday. I'm scheduled to go with my wife to Nashville. The Entree Leadership Conference is by the Ramsey Solution. So Dave Ramsey. Ken Coleman's also a personality. He's got a show through them. He does a great job. So right before the show, it's Sunday. I'm going to my mom's with Kristen, my wife now. She was my fiance at the time.
Okay.
See the van. I got to check on Daryl. I swing around. I go back. He's with a friend. He comes out of the van. Daryl looks vibrant. Cuts in his chest a bit. He's got color in his eyes. He looks fresh. He looks good. I asked him what happened. He said the interaction completely changed his life. It gave him a surge of hope that there's actually good people out there that would want to check on him, and he felt hopeless. Shortly thereafter, he had a back check for about $7,000 for disability. He started working out. It changed his life, the interaction, and that he really complimented me in front of my wife. We got emotional again. I hugged him, and then I went to the Entree Leadership, surged off the energy from that. I mean, there was such an amazing energy that I took, and I circulated it with because Entree Leadership has some of the biggest corporations and leaders that go there in the world. And it's very positive, really great organization. And they were feeling it. I was getting really good feedback. So NCK Equipment, my company, through Ramsey Solutions, we had previously sponsored schools. It hit about 1,700 kids, how to budget, how to not go into debt, how to give back and invest. And it was really great training that went off to students. So I had the ability to go to a smaller room style sponsorship breakfast Thursday at the Entree Leadership Conference. So I had gone there, and Jordan Peterson was a speaker, if anybody knows him, really great speakers there. So Ken Coleman is speaking at the show in the small room, and he's doing a great job. He goes to leave, and the wave comes over me again to go up and to chase down Ken and to share the story. Because I did have I thought of a foundation to train people, because I felt like there was a formula to approaching people. So the wave comes over, Ken is leaving. I run up to him in the hall, right in the middle. He's probably going to Jordan or whoever he's going in the next room. Hey, Ken, my name's Jeff. Loved your talk. I think what your organization does is great. I had an interaction recently. It sort of changed my life, and I have a thought on a foundation. Can I share it with you? I got very emotional. I felt like there was a connection with Ken and I. He was very great. I had written him a letter through a friend, and I'd gone to the Master Series, and since then I've talked to him, and he's very supportive, great guy. But the point of that connection there is I felt like, you know what, this could operate at a high level. I really feel like he was a friend after I saw him in the hallway. So, with going off and leveraging that, on the plane ride back, the concept of ride the wave came over me. And when the wheels touched down and the plane hit, we have not stopped. Eventually, the vision of the campus came, and the book we were trying to pursue bestseller. We've been just going after it ever since. So just not stop doing it, and that was June 2023.
So for 2 years now, you've kind of worked out. As we're understanding the wave, and you are primarily working in the foundation now, or you do both, you do your company and the foundation. How does that, work for you at this point in your career life?
Yeah, my life is an interesting stage. It's an interesting phase. I feel like we're sort of early growth, but startup at the same time. I do focus on NCK Equipment, which brings in revenue for myself and family. Unfortunately, about a year and a half ago, we were growing well. It was just myself. I hired somebody else. And it was a couple of small, innocent processing mistakes on the accounting end, which led to some cash flow challenges, which still dealing with, and even may have to see where NCK Equipment does end up going, whether I'll stick with it. No matter what, though, Ride the Wave is going nowhere, and I'll always focus and pursue that. I definitely want to do that. And NCK is tied into it because of how it was born. And NCK, we have some also sister company ideas to get to systems, which we could get a facility and do that. So I definitely want to keep NCK Equipment. It's a big part of it. Right now, we're under-resourced, small team, and money is the challenge. We have the vision. I have everything in writing. I have proof now that it can operate at a high level. It's just a matter of me getting the right audience and presenting it. I have an hour presentation and really getting a good donor and stuff like that.
Gotcha. So, I mean, it's hard to split your time. Your passion is ride the wave and making sure that takes precedent, and then you kind of are having to run a business because you need revenue and that kind of stuff. Do you feel a conflict all the time? Because this is what I want to do when I get up. This is some of the things that I got to do because that's how we're going to make money and do the things we're doing.
In the beginning, I got myself in so much trouble because it hit. I could be a manic type person. I was diagnosed years back with bipolar, but I manage it accordingly. And if it's not something, it's something that's a part of who I am, and it's all good. When it hit, so hard in the spirit. And I knew it was going to be great. And it was only a matter of time. But it was so strong that it was pulling me away a bit at times.
Mm-hmm.
And people were concerned. Like I had my a friend and my brother even come to my house. People didn't see it. The visuals weren't coming out yet. So they saw me as sort of manic with it. So for me, yeah, I had that getting pulled so strongly in that direction because it was a calling that there was a little bit of me taking my eye off the ball at NCK. Since then, I've learned, though, through some burns and through some things that have happened along the way, to kind of manage my time accordingly. I had to go through that process, I think. But yeah, I love what I do with NCK too. It's fun to go on to plants and sell equipment. And AdMix is a company that we have a great relationship with. And the majority of my time is focused on NCK. And we've automated a bit of ride the wave nicely. But yeah, for me, I always sort of lean towards ride the wave because that work, I know it tangibly helps people. And it's just fun. It's just, I know it could also yield to revenue streams that could be great. It could be a lane to leave a legacy for my family. And I see that. And that's what drives me as well, is that passion of they're taking away generational wealth. Maybe I could actually be somebody in my family that could leave a legacy, even financially, and with this thing. And maybe if Chris and I have kids, God willing, pass on something great.
You talked a few times and you said the wave came over me.
Yeah.
Explain that a little bit. What is the wave? And because you're talking about ride the wave and the wave comes over. So kind of give me an analogy or a allegory or something that helps understand what you mean when you say the wave came over me.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things we're going to leverage Wavemaker book, because it's repurposed story of Daryl, my interaction, and then principles for people how to approach others on the street they normally wouldn't. Radiate positivity, the art of asking questions, surroundings, like things like that could put somebody in a position to have the confidence and certain tools to be able to check on somebody safely and, to do that. So a wave maker there training, or what happened with me, it's getting people in a position to feel that, to be able to recognize it. Because I think what ends up happening, and our tagline is the path is to the person. Because what we found is that there's a lot of various distractions that are set up. The enemy tries to do that to distract us to the true wealth and currency. And what that wealth is and what fills up my spirit is when I look somebody in the eyes and I have a connection with them and I get to know their story. And there's a way and a formula to genuinely open up your chest, look somebody in the eye, soft intro. There's a way to see things and in certain times insert encouragement. But the wave itself is a feeling. For me, I'm a spiritual person, so I believe in God. I happen to be a Christian. The campus is going to be non-religious, so anybody could come in and nobody gets deterred. Because I feel if someone leaves, and that they're their best selves, they can make the best spiritual decisions and go that route path-wise. But the wave itself is that feeling, that quiet voice, which I feel is God directing us to help somebody or talk to that person. And that voice is underneath and it's within everybody and it's dormant a bit sometimes. And there are techniques and there are things we can do in silence and other things that could spark that out. But if you listen to that when you have it, especially if it's a good act and it's wearing the shoes, because the act that I was doing to get to it was a good principle and ethically, and I pursued it and I got past the fear because of where this came from and how it was developed and the source was pure. I think it's going to be fantastically great. And people, that's what's missing. We need to get out there. We need to wear the shoes. And if we could empower others to do that and have a certain similar situation, eventually Daryl is going to get the language around it so he could come and talk with me. It's just an amazing story, an amazing interaction that I think could change the life. And not only that, it's a blessing because it's also a hybrid book and training. So not only could we train people to approach everyday people and for free train and empower homeless and underprivileged people, it could forward-face business leaders as well, to teach business leaders through a process how to get to their purpose, how they would want to give back to the community themselves and what their passion is, how to develop a nonprofit around that, develop language and unique tying in of cross marketing, every interaction, how to put it into your brand. And then if each business were to tie in a foundation that gave to the community, or each individual, you can empower them to buy for $300 a nonprofit on LegalZoom, create a website and start to get out there on their own. If that's common and it's in our language, hey, what do you do? Oh, I'm a landscaper, or I do short clips. I'm social media manager, but I also do this for the community. And everybody says that. Most likely, if you tell me that, I'm going to ask, oh, really? You do that for the community? You cut hair, or you do food trucks? I want to hear more about that. So there are multiple ways this could go. We have the vision. We're just going slow, trying to not put the cart before the horse with our processes, doing something each year. It's just that the money and sort of like things that I did, which I wouldn't take back because they're all lessons with NCK equipment, and those challenges are going to come, those tidal waves. But it's also an opportunity to develop partnerships with people that we normally didn't have. And maybe it's God's way of slowing us down so we didn't go too fast later and blow it out when we were larger. I don't know. I'm kind of looking at it like that. But it's a struggle, man. It's tough. It gets hard because to self-motivate too is really important. So to stay on purpose and on path, I got to make sure that I'm doing my morning routine, making sure that I'm staying up on scripture myself purposely. It's more spiritual now. Just that exercise and things like that.
Cool. When I think about, homeless services, I ran a few homeless service organizations in the last 10 years. I had one was a 50-bed facility where we were doing, it was called Ready to Work, where we were doing workforce stuff with folks experiencing homelessness and thinking about your campus and the things that your vision to do. How are you now interacting with your unhoused population that's in New Jersey? And what are some of the things as you're visioning this campus and some of the things that you would like to see happen on the campus? What does that look like in your vision of, what are some of the things that you guys are able to do or find funding to do right now?
Yeah, it's a good question. So right now, and the position we're in too, even with the platform on the podcast, for example, my friendship with Mark Robinson allows me to have a finger to the pulse in a unique way to the community. Morristown, New Jersey specifically, the people they've lost trust a lot, any government or just really anybody in general, because of the issues they're having. So I'll give you an example. Along the way, leveraging, her name is Heather, and also her boyfriend, Jose. Shout out to Heather and Jose. We love you. They're homeless currently, and they're good volunteers for us. Getting guests for the show, really trying to get out there to put the word. We're going to try to even get a conference room, local library, to tell people who we are, to start to gain trust within the community. So that's the very first step with us, is to do that. So we discovered a transportation gap along the way when Heather and Jose had an episode and they came on, because it's a way for people who are underprivileged or anybody to talk about anything on the show and also connect foundations of each other in a unique, great way. So we'll always have our finger to the pulse of the homeless community there that could come on the show and share that. So it's getting the word out as well. But people are scattered around so much, and they're expected to go to various places to be at an appointment physically to get resources, but they don't have transportation and they don't have the money to get there. So they have to walk 6 miles or whatever. They're unhealthy, they're hungry, they're not feeling right anyway. They end up getting frustrated and sleeping on the street anyway. So Mark and I, there's no real gap for that. So whatever transportation they have to go through Medicaid, and it's complicated. So we're like, all right, we're going to do it. Mark Robinson doesn't have his license. We're going to have him get his driver's license and CDL. We're going to get a van, and we're going to fill in the gap to bring people to their appointments that they can't get to in between. So if they need to go get something from the DMV, we'll act as a free taxi service with a van. Now, there's a couple things that we can do there. It builds trust. So once in a while, I could hop in the van if it's Mark's job to do that. talk to people, tell them who we are to build that trust. So once we continue to build that trust, monetize the show, that's what we're going to do. Get money, break the seal with the book to make it bestseller. So that revenue, sell apparel, things like that, shirts, things that we do that. Leverage any recognition from the show that we get as it grows, Mark and I's personalities, to push certain agendas through for the campus as well. So if we're running into an issue, have polls or surveys, tell people what we're doing, what we're running into. Allow that us, whatever state it is, to work with local officials to be able to do that. The goal is in the next 3 years to have revenue coming in, a big donor. I have John Gordon, a meeting set. I'm trying to set up a virtual with his team, John Gordon Companies. So I have traction on that end as well. There's some real high level traction where there might, I don't want to go too far ahead and jinx it, or, there might be potential collaboration or partnership opportunities. So it's really trying to work to see, one, if we could kick up dust. You never know with the internet, maybe we can get a hit with a short or something. Maybe we could get a break, but realistically going slow in a project plan to get there. And hopefully in the next 3 years or sooner, have a concept drawing for the campus itself. Campus would be just like a university you go on, live in, but the rules would be no tolerance. Somebody would have to want, and they'd have to go through an admission process. When they come on, the culture would be everything. Hey, come on in. We love you. Really appreciate you being here. But cultural aspects from the people and the space with in personal development and positive leadership and servant leadership principles that I've learned in business. People like Ed Milet, John Gordon, Damon West that I look up to, John Maxwell, the senior in that, under the umbrella of Tony Robbins in the business end. People that have the ability to bring that structure, bring that from the top down. And with the show, we have a unique pulse to the ground to be able to keep homeless people on our show, which other people don't in that space. So have a significant show there. Everything that Mark and I does, so we're a small team, every strategy, the show, the book, the apparel, we even have some thoughts on future cafes that we could franchise, are going to point to cutting the ribbon in the campus. And that's what they are. So it's a unique model to be able to do that revenue stream wise. So the campus itself will have an area, if there needs to be a detox, with the latest technology, the latest things, whether it's holistic and medical, and an elongated detox too. If somebody needs longer to detox, everybody's body is different. That's fine. Then after that, go and all humane spa-like, they'll have a place. Everything is on site too. We'll have vouchers to get food, clothing, so they don't have to travel anywhere. A beautiful place, where there's an amazing culture. And then they go into a space of health and wellness where there's fitness. They learn how to cook, nutrition, food. They go to an empowerment session where they learn how to be a go-giver, mental health strategies from a business perspective, how to empower others, leadership. I think everybody should have leadership training no matter who they are, no matter what they're doing. And not complicated stuff that's going to confuse them with education. Math, yes, to a certain extent. Maybe simple things like in life, how to budget, how to operate money at a high level, but nothing too extreme, complicated to deter anybody that's uneducated. But to meet everybody where they're at and have a full mentorship program with life coach style people that are customized to the culture, where individually they work with them, not with case 30 plus people that they can't, social workers that they have so many cases that their minds are all over, they can't do it, but a dedicated person that they could walk them through their purpose. And that's the point of the training. How do you get to the purpose? What are the things that you need to do? Here's an action plan. Here's how you get there. And that when they leave and they graduate, they'll always have access to that mentorship program at any time. So really creating a brand new style environment that's empowerment and amazing culture, because when not only that, these people end up being scattered around, they go to a place and then the culture is sucked out of the room. They feel like they're not wanted. They feel like nobody cares. some people that do at these places are they're so limited in what they think they can do in their personal realm inside them, and also the rules and regulations of things in the bureaucracy that's put in place. So they accept certain things that maybe they shouldn't. But now's the time for a resurgence. Something new we need in this country. We have to be humane. Nothing is working. We need a nice, big university-style, community-based place where we could go with the latest technology and the best stuff. And what better, I find it no better way than the business space and the positive leadership space, because all the best scientific tools are there. Because it's proven even in the workforce that positivity wins every time, productivity-wise.
Well, cool. So when, I'm thinking through your plan and thinking through some of the things that you shared with me. And, I love the idea of the campus, and, just kind of wondering like how much, like when you talk about your transportation, and like I said, I've been here, I've done this so many times, and you find somebody on the street that has all their stuff, but you want to take them to a doctor's appointment. Well, they don't want to, if they're living on the street, their stuff has to stay. They can't be in your van with you. Are you thinking through some of those issues? Like they're not going to just get in a van and go across town to the doctor because you're leaving their stuff vulnerable that's out there.
Like, I didn't even think of that. Yeah, see, that's the value of it. I didn't think of that. And, so that's something that we have to consider. And that's the great thing about having conversations with people like yourselves, because I'm so used to the private sector. I'm so used to business. I have a business hat on. So for me, I'll always approach it at that angle. The nonprofit's new. And also too, even though the vision is there so clear, I have visuals, things like that, paperwork that I could give to potential donors. I feel like there's work I have to do to tighten it up, and I'm getting some help with experienced people there. It's a slow process, but we're such an early concept phase of we're needing that startup phase that like there could be some things that open up where we'll go different paths. Like something, we might get a break somewhere. John Gordon, I might talk to him, or their companies, they might say, yeah, there's a fit. We can do a deal. So it's really trying to navigate, and the transportation thing came up along the way, and we adjusted to it accordingly, thinking this is an opportunity for us, because we have to be open for opportunities that come in. But what you're saying though is a really great point, because I have to think about insurance, Mark with the CDL. I didn't think about somebody that would have that kind of stuff that we would need room. So we would have to determine the size of the van, how many people are going to be in it, is there enough room?
Well, and it could be that there's just a homeless service organization that you partner with that, or where they're staying, might be a shelter or something like that, where their stuff can be locked up at the shelter while you take them to wherever they're going. I mean, there's all kind of, ways to beat it. But what I see a lot of is just partnership and you guys getting used to the community. One of the issues we had is the savior complex of why are you trying to help me? What are you trying to do for me? Why are you trying to do this? I don't want your help. There's because you have a big mental health side of it too.
Yeah.
For those who are experiencing homelessness. And so there's just, like you said, you're in concepting. I don't want you to get discouraged, because I think they're amazing concepts. But I guess my encouragement would be to go spend some time volunteering at one of the shelters or volunteering at one of the organizations. Here in the Denver area, we had about, when I was in homelessness, we had about 54 different organizations. And here was the biggest problem, because there's funding, there's, whether it's state funding, city funding, foundation funding, there's all these different funding sources. But with 54 organizations, then there was 54 people vying for the same donors, the same, people that are out there that are wanting to help. And then, each one of those foundations wants to have, that's running services wanted to have, admin. And they, so let's say you got a $200,000 grant from somebody, or a philanthropist gave you $200,000. Well, the person running the organization, the 3 staff members or whatever, that the salary for them was like $125,000. So then you go, okay, so if I got a $200,000 grant and $125,000 is going to pay the people who are running the program, that means only $75,000 of it is actually going to help the person who's in the biggest need. And you just see that over and over again. And you go, okay, so how do we partner with what's working, what's going on, and then feed into that? That's what when I was, that was my frustration, and why I kind of stepped out of it for a while, was because I had some really great ideas of things that I wanted to do and things I could help, but we were always fighting the bureaucracy of the system and the, how much money homeless services makes in every one of the, the communities that it's in. And there's some nationwide programs, and there's some citywide programs, and it's just really getting to know and internally into, before you make all your plans of what you're going to do for somebody, you want to make sure this is what the folks that you're working for truly want and need.
Yeah. And I appreciate your guidance and your advice. It goes a long way, especially now. And what you're saying does make sense, because I could go, or you could go into a community and you could assume that they need certain things, or, hey, we need to set up this for backpacks or hand out food here or do that. But that may not be what they need. They may not want that. Mm-hmm. So not assuming what others want, I think, is key too. And Dr. Bo, who is somebody, she's a Keene University professor. Be the Change New Jersey is the name of her foundation. She's been on the show a couple of times. And she made that point on the show, which stuck in my mind. And, that's the reason why, like, Mark and I were responding to a direct need. Like, we know through several people, we got confirmation that it's a challenge that the community is facing. So we're responding there to do that, because I didn't want to just assume and then set it up and do all that. So I understand what you're saying, but I also think the university also sort of, in a way, is a bit of a solution, because there's so many grants, so many things, like you say, 50 something organizations. It could get oversaturated and competing, and you sort of overlap in a sense. One thing that's interesting with all this is I feel like God's with it 100%, because as we're going through the motions, we're almost receiving a network for the campus. And what I mean by that, Dr. Matt is on the show, and Dr. Matt is in the medical. So like somebody, and I'm not saying that he said this, by the way, he didn't say that he would do it or anything like that. It's just my thought. But somebody like that, because we would divvy it up by departments, maybe someday he'd be interested in working with the department in the health. Somebody else would come in and they do franchising. And Mark and I, after thought about franchising cafes. So Wave Cafes, where people who are underprivileged could work there, where it's a unique style cafe where everything in there points to the campus, shows pictures of what we did for the community, has a theme of wave oceans, and people could maybe scan a QR code and give to the campus while they're there. And and then Andy is somebody that was on the show that is a franchise company. You know what I mean? So like, I feel like it's important to be open to not just proactively pursue things, but to be open to receiving a network too. Because when you're too distracted with things and going after it, I want to make sure that I divert my distraction to make sure, am I working on, is it purpose related? And then divert it back. And that's the toughest part. There's so many things that come in front of us that take us away from what truly can matter. And we could be busy and do nothing.
Yeah. Well, and then, things like I was able to get a shower truck. And so we put a shower truck out in the community, and we had showers and, but one of the things that happened is we try to coordinate with the city and everything, because the shower cook, now folks are coming, they're taking showers. We have volunteers. That was wonderful on the nights that we did it. And there were some cold nights we did it. But the issue is as you have people who congregate, then you have personalities. And then, so we needed security, and they begin to fight with each other. And then they begin to try to start selling drugs at the facility. And you try to say, well, I'm going to stop that. But I'm not law enforcement that can enforce, hey, this is a no tolerance, no space. You can't do that. But then they see folks that are showing up. Then we have drug dealers who are showing up. We're trying to, because that's where everybody's at, to sell them stuff. And it became where the city pretty much said, we don't want you to do showers in this spot because of what's happening in the congregation of people. And so there's just those types of things, because whenever you congregate people that have different personalities, although you're still trying to help them, you're still trying to say, hey, we have, these things, like you mentioned Ed Milet. I worked in an office with Ed Milet for 10 years where we did.
We have to talk offline. I got to tell you a story offline with Ed and John Gordon. I got to tell you. Yeah.
Both are great guys. So, so when you start thinking about, the things that you guys are doing and putting it together, like it's like you said, bringing the network around, bringing the people around, having the brainstorming, but make sure you're just including the folks that you're going to serve in your conversations of planning, so that they can help you, really put together some things that they need and they want, because housing is going to be number one. And then when you're developing a campus at our university, and you talked about being able to live there, it's okay. So what kind of style housing are we going? Is it going to be like dorm room style housing? The facility I had, we had like 5 beds per unit per room, and they had their own little space and that kind of stuff. But we expected them to work. We expected them to be. It was a sober living facility, so we were doing drug testing and that kind of stuff. Which is so much different than some of the other places where it's just like, if it's a shelter, then that's not part of it. So those are considerations on what that style looks like. And but like you said, you're in the infancy of everything right now. When you talk about your podcast, you talked about being able to monetize it, and you already in 6 months have 100,000. What are some of the things that are on your show that are bringing, I guess, clarity and knowing what's going on and that kind of stuff with the podcast? Talk to me just a little bit about your podcast and why people like on my show would want to go to it and listen to it.
Yeah, first we have improvements to make on the show that we realize now. There are watch hours and other types of criteria that we have to work on to, make sure more views come in and more people are taking a look. But, I think what has formed when we're filming or recording the show is it's a platform where anybody of any race, creed, religion can come on and really openly just discuss their story, no matter what level they're at, to education wise. So we've had, we're about 50 episodes now. We are 50 episodes now. So the latest one we did is art. Two people came in who do spoken words and rap, and they shared their talents as well. So we talked about transparency and rap being and art being yourself, things like that. Anything from manhood and faith. With 2 Black gentlemen, Javon and Mark Robinson, we talked about slavery, distractions, but also foundations have come on. So Be the Change New Jersey came on. We've talked about suicide and the issue with suicide. The Morristown mission, Market Street mission, somebody came on, shared their story. So it's an opportunity for really anybody to come on. And what I've learned also is everybody in them has a unique angle. They have something that's in them that they want to bring to the table. And most people have a thought or idea on a way they want to give back to the community. So it's a platform where somebody could go, there's something about speaking it out into the world. You could speak out from the inside out and create your own world. That's what this is, really. It's speaking it out. So it's given people the opportunity, like if somebody like Jose, Heather, or Rich that came on, if they're homeless, it gives them an opportunity for their story to matter, for them to feel meaningful, because it really does. Even though there might not be as many views yet, Heather and Jose, they're the beginning of, and people like that are the beginning of getting the story out there. So it's a platform to get a story out there that will tie in to the grander vision of the campus. But I think what is attracting people is the subjects, the conversational, laid back type of conversation. And really, it doesn't matter what the subject is. We'll talk about it in a calm, open manner. So just to hear the person's story, even if it's something Mark and I disagree with, we'll be ourselves. We're not going to hold back having our opinions and things like that. but we'll be respectful to anybody's side at all. And when I'm out, I mean, Mark and I, we've handed flyers. We're going to go to some universities. I'm not trying to brag or anything like that. When we're out, this thing hits. I could go up. I say pitch because of business, that, you know, speak to the foundation, about the foundation, to anybody. It doesn't matter. They could have horns coming out of their head. I mean, young girl with like purple hair kicking a church flyer, walking down the street by Starbucks. I talked to her. Somebody, doesn't matter what race, like they could look any way. It just hits. Everyone sees it, and I think that it's such a positive thing that if it's presented and spoke about a certain way, it seems to. It's like, I feel like Mark and I have this gift. We have this key, and we just want to make sure we preserve it. We're the ones that could screw it up, and we don't want to. Like, we have a gift, and it's only a matter of time. We're sitting in this rocket ship. It's going to take off. It's only a matter of time, and a selected few know it. You know, it's like that.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's so cool. As we're winding down a little bit, what are some of the things that maybe you haven't talked about that you want to let everybody know? Maybe give some ways to get to the show, some things that you would love for people to maybe even pray for you, about, or some of the things that we can do as a community to help you along, or anything else that we didn't talk about that you want to make sure that you mention.
Yeah, thank you. It's a major project. It's a bold vision. However, we're committed to seeing it through. And anybody that is feeling it, anybody that wants to be on the show could reach out. If you feel like you want to contribute in every way, we definitely need donations. We could use volunteers and help. You've been very helpful. Thank you for just your advice, things like that, brainstorming. But, you know, I think that we have something really great, and we could give back in a big way. And this is something that could lead to true reform, is what we're looking to do on a larger scale. And our website is ridethewave.org. If you go to the website, it has everything there. It has our commitment. Our tagline is "The path is to the person." It gives you information on the platform, sort of the formation. It also gives you links to purchase the book. And at the very bottom, if you go and you fill out the contact information, it'll come to me directly. So we're a small team. So you could even just mention where you heard of the foundation or the show, and we'll go from there. But yeah, I mean, really, it's exciting. It's something that I'm every day pursuing. It does not come with major challenges. So anybody out there that's looking to pursue their passion, that's a part of the lunch. That's a part of the game. Just keep pushing. It's going to be great.
Oh man, that's so cool. Well, thank you for being willing to come on and willing to talk. I'd love to go on your show someday and chop it up with you guys.
Yeah, we should set that up.
We'll just have some fun. Since I do have some experience in the stuff that you guys are talking about. But I guess my wish for you, or my prayer for you, is don't give up. Don't ever stop as things get, frustrating and people turn from you, and, the funding doesn't happen the way it is. The people that you serve absolutely 100% need you in the community. They need you doing the things that you're doing in a way that you're doing it with the passion you're doing with. I love that you're including, folks who are experiencing homelessness into your world. Whether it's in the show or whether it's just in conversations and things that you're doing, because what you're doing is much needed. And there's different communities that will reach in and grab you and help you and move you forward. So I wish you the best in that portion of your endeavor. And like I said, as you continue to grow and continue to go on podcast, I appreciate you being on here today. And so we thank you for that. And for those of you who are watching today and you want to invest into or just be part of like you said, the contact information, the website is ridethewave.org. Go ahead, and if you enjoyed this show and you want to see more, go ahead and hit subscribe, notifications, ring the bell, put the thumbs up, all those different things that we do on YouTube that helps all of our shows decide to grow and to move forward. I want you not to forget that you are God's greatest gift. He loves you if you allow him to, and we'll look forward to seeing you guys all on the next one. Thank you again, Jeff. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Take care.